don't know how many of you are familiar with the content creator called Dhar Mann. Many of you probably are. He makes really inspirational videos, and a lot of them are kind of corny, you know, but they're actually pretty addicting to watch. You know, he has a whole host of actors, and he puts quite a bit of time and energy into his videos. And generally, it's kind of like a mini micro sitcom or something. And, you know, there'll be a problem, and then before the end, the problem has been resolved, and everyone has learned their lesson and come to the realizations they need to come to, and had a mental growth or emotional growth spurt just like that. By the end, it's resolved, right? And I think they're great. Personally, I love them. I just have that about my personality. And, you know, it's weird. I have a very multifaceted, multidimensional personality. I can be really dark. I get into a lot of dark content. I'll always be that way. It's how I express myself. But I also have a very light side to me. I like to keep those balances. And to me, anyone who goes too far to either extreme is phony to me. To each their own. I don't care if that's what they want to do, but there's something about that I personally just can't get down with. You know, light and dark balances of everything within us. That's how I need to roll. Hence, my YouTube channel's name is Dysfunctionally Functional, okay? And no, I'm not claiming dysfunctional at all, but I've had to roll like that most of my life. I've had to deal with the cards I've been dealt and pick my own ass up off the ground and do something with the circumstances that I've been dealt. And by God, they have not always been the greatest. In fact, a lot of it was quite tragic. In the very beginning, especially how I grew up and all that. But what I'm saying is, back to Dhar Mann. Okay, I get it. There's a lot of people out there that look at that kind of thing like, oh, that's so corny. You know, there's a lot of cynical, really negative Debbie Downers in the fucking world. Look, I can be hardcore motherfucker all day long, but I don't want to be. That's right. I want to be full of light. After you've suffered as much as I have, maybe you just hadn't suffered enough. I don't know. But a lot of us that are full of light, and we gravitate towards things that are positive and uplifting and all of that, it just depends on the personality. But a lot of us, the reason we're that fucking way, it's not because we're naive, baby. And it's not because we're fucking corny. It's because we've been through enough. We've suffered enough in our lives. We've been through enough brutality. We've been beaten down to the goddamn ground and had our goddamn face scrubbed in it. We have developed some humility, some integrity, some self-awareness. We want to gravitate towards the light. That's on you if you want to sit around in self-pity, feeling like shit all the time, hating on everybody else in the world and their light. Why are they so happy for? That's fine if you want to do that, but do that shit in your own lane. Don't come at me with it or try to judge me because I want something different and think you know some shit about me because you don't. Now, back to Dhar Mann. I just hate it when people bash him. I mean, to each their own, like I said, but these really negative, cynical ass people sit out there talking about, I see a lot of comments, even though he has 1 billion followers, I see a lot of people like, man, that dude is so corny. I can't stand him. I can't stand his videos. He thinks that he's giving people the wrong idea that problems are going to be solved just like that. Oh my God, nothing works out that way in reality. He shouldn't be putting that out to people to expect problems to be resolved just like that. I mean, literally, I have read dozens of these bashing negative comments, and you know, here's what I don't like. Be dark if you want to be dark. Be light if you want to be light. Be whatever the hell you want. But for you to sit up and go after another human being who's trying to do something. At least he's trying. That's what I have to say about that shit. For all you people that sit up and talk about other people who are trying. I don't give a shit how dark they are, how they used to be, how many times they might have gone to prison in the past, or if they used to sell drugs, or they used to be abusive. Hell, I used to be that way. When I was growing up, I grew up beat down. I grew up with beatings, physical violence, manipulation, sexual abuse, fucking verbal abuse. I grew up with all kinds of mixes and twists and all kinds of shit. And when I was early on, in my early relationships, my first marriage, second marriage, very early on, I was very angry, very unhealed, very toxic to a degree. At least I was in therapy though, thank God. And at least I wanted to learn and change and grow, but it took me years. I was still quite manipulative, quite angry, quite violent, and quite abusive back then. I came out of a very violent childhood, okay? And as time went on, I grew. I stayed in therapy and I stayed on myself because I did not want to hurt other people. I did not want what was inside of me to hurt other people. So I knew I had to keep taking responsibility for it over the years. Did I grow overnight? Did I become perfect? Fuck no, I'm still not perfect. But over the years, especially from 20 to 30, and 30 on into my 30s, massive personal growth, massive emotional and spiritual growth. You have to just keep working on yourself. There's no shame in your darkness. There's no shame in your flaws. You can put them out there. I don't care what you used to be, as long as you are taking responsibility. Own that shit, face it down, and you are working towards becoming a better human being. That's all the hell that matters to me. I love corny shit like that. I don't care. Because I'm just weird like that. You know, I like a lot of hardcore shit too. I like a lot of dark stuff. I love expression. I don't like to participate in dark shit. You see, I have figured out how to sort of live vicariously through dark art, darker music when I want to. I get tired of that shit too. Dark expression, whatever. Expressing anger, expressing arrogance. I have learned to kind of vicariously channel things in like that. Therefore, I don't have to do that or act that way in my real day-to-day living. I can be, since I'm releasing that energy in some form, I can be a better person to the human beings that surround me. Yes. A lot of people don't think about it that way. They just judge. What's up? What? Look at this. She's dark. She's angry. She's this. She's that. Or she's too light. She's pretentious. She's corny. Whatever. But I do have that other side to my personality that it's almost puritanical. I swear to God. It's like I'm caught between those two, because honestly I grew up between two very extreme parents. Polar opposites. Oh my God. I'll talk about that one day. But yeah, I grew up with very extreme influences all the way around. Extremely different people, you know, but I have that side to my personality that is just, I love things like Little House on the Prairie or the Amish community, or it's almost puritanical. I love that time period, the time of the Puritans, and back when the witch trials were going on, which I was probably one of those motherfuckers that was strapped and burned at the damn stake. That's probably me. But I love the little bonnets and how they just live a simple, pure life, sit and churn the butter and make the bread for the family, and everything's all cool. Y'all, I'm weird like that. I love that pure, simple lifestyle. And, you know, when I was growing up as a child, back in the, you know, I was born in the late 70s, but my dad worked the shit out of me. I was a little grown woman. I was having to cook the meals and make his breakfast and make his coffee, and they had me doing chores and this and that. I had to learn. I grew up fast, and then I was in the streets, and I became very domestic. I'm one of those women. I like to be domestic. I like to clean. I like to cook. If I'm in a relationship, I like to cater to my man. I like to adore him, wash his clothes. That is how I show love to a man. Now, unfortunately, I've been so unhealed in my life because of the abuse in my early life. As much therapy as I went to and as much work as I did, it was still the trauma where I stopped growing as a child. The trauma, the sexual abuse, the molestations, the beatings, everything I went through with the alcoholic father was so deeply ingrained, the trauma, that I kept attracting. Yes, people who have a trauma like that, they will keep attracting people that kind of represent that early caretaker. Yes, you will keep, and for a long time, I couldn't be attracted to anything but that. They either had to be alcoholic, addicted, something in their personality that either emotionally unavailable or, oh yes, I've had to put plenty of study into my own wounds over the years. And it has not been easy. It has not been overnight for me. And just when I thought I had escaped those patterns and I was doing better, I would relapse again. Someone would come in, and this last 6 years that happened to me, I thought I was done. No more alcoholics. I even told him that. I don't do that anymore. I don't run around rescuing and saving and being a little crutch with an alcoholic on my arm because my father was an alcoholic and I want to fix him and save him and make him love me properly, and all these childhood wounds come out. They keep getting recreated, yes. And a lot of people, we have to realize it. And even though my therapist made me aware of this almost 20 years ago, and I started catching on to what I was doing, she taught me how I was trying to rescue and save my parents and recreate those situations, and I needed to do more healing work. Even though I've been aware of this shit for years, I still emotionally could not break those ties. I couldn't break those attractions to that darker, and you know, a lot of times I've had to walk that thin line between light and dark, you know, because of where I come from and what's inside of me. I would dabble with darkness. I would run with people like that, but I wasn't going over the edge. I had to keep my balance somehow. I had kids. I had worked on myself. I had to keep working on myself. But I've had to learn over time that wasn't good for me. I need to be careful how much energy and how much I'm actually letting in, who I'm letting close to me. Because there's a lot of fucking vampires out there. And it happened to me in the last few years. So I've actually healed a lot in the last 6 years. All those deep-rooted patterns inside of me of what I was attracted to and what I was attracting to myself, and ending up getting in trauma bonds and childhood issues playing out back and forth with people. And it just kills me because I said up front in my last relationship, I am aware of this. I do not want this to be a recreation of my childhood. Me trying to save my alcoholic father, make him love me correctly, make him treat me correctly, make him stop abusing me, recreate and heal that wound through diving into a relationship and not being conscious of these patterns. Oh, heck, I'm not stupid. I knew, and I said this to him up front. I don't think he was aware of any of this stuff, but he agreed to it. And I could tell he had issues too. I was like, well, you came to the right place if you want to work on those issues. But if you're anything else, if you have any other motives for my life, you need to back off now. We need to realize and catch. I didn't know the word trauma bond back then. I've since learned about it. But I did know about this pattern that people get in relationships who are carrying childhood trauma, and their old patterns play out of the adults who abused them in their past. Whether they were neglected or abandoned, or they choose emotionally unavailable partners. It's like you just can't help it. It's something, you can't force yourself to be attracted to what you're not attracted to. And so when people say, well, women just want assholes, or why do these people just want to stay with a bad person? They must want to be abused. That is such bullshit and such ignorance. No, nobody wants to be abused. Nobody wants to be treated badly. But you have to understand trauma. You got to understand, probably well over half of the population on earth has been traumatized in some way. In fact, all drug addicts, I mean probably 98, 99 point something percent, they all have a trauma in their past. The biggest percent of drug addicts have a trauma in their past that they are ashamed of, that they can't cope with, that they've never dealt with. Yes, and a lot of them have sexual trauma. Yep, men and women. A lot of them are using drugs and become heavily addicted to drugs because they have a sexual trauma in their past that they cannot deal with, that they've never been able to deal with, that they can't get any help for. Oh yeah. You know, and so anyway, I don't know what all this is about, but I just wanted to put it out there that, listen, you never know where a person comes from. Just because they may present themselves in a certain way, with a certain energy or whatever, what have you, it doesn't mean they don't know some darkness. It doesn't mean that's the full spectrum of their whole entire personality. You just never know what's in somebody's past. And I appreciate people. I'm not the one who wants to sit up and instantly, now there's these negative Nancys out there. Anything they see that's positive, they instantly want to run their fucking mouth about it. These old dark ass, dreary ass, miserable ass people, you can keep that shit. You can keep that shit. I don't give a fuck what you think about me or what you think about positivity. You're not going to shit on my parade like that, because I can become just as quick, just as dark, just as quick. But I don't want to. I appreciate people who put out light in this world. I appreciate people who put out inspiration in this world. And there's always those negative ass people out there that's bullshit, that's fake, that's blah. I'm telling you, I've heard it from these wounded people. I was around it 24/7 for years. These people that are so wounded and they're so jealous. They're so eaten up and they can't get out and they don't want to get out, but yet they're so spiteful, so hateful of everything else in the world and what everybody else has. Trust me, I heard it 24/7. Why they got that? That should have been mine. They probably fucking blah. That's fucking stupid. I'm not the one. That is not how my brain works. First of all, that's extremely emotionally immature, extremely wounded. Person probably needs to seek some extra therapy for that attitude. I'm not the one. I'm not the fucking one to sit up and the instant I see something positive go, that's bullshit. They're probably fake. They're probably ripping everybody off. I'm not the one. That's not instantly where my brain goes. Now, of course, I have to be careful what I fucking put my energy into and what I believe in. Absolutely. I'm not going to go off the deep end and become a disciple of anyone. No. But I like Dhar Mann. I love his inspirational videos. And I like the message in each video. Even though, no, in reality, it's not like that. I wish to God people came to their senses that quick. All you had to do was make them aware. In a lot of Dhar Mann's videos, a person is making another person aware of their behavior. And they don't respond to it well at first. They're combative and defensive and excuses and whatever. But by the end of the video, the person who has done the action that was wrong or hurtful or judged something unfairly, the person comes to their senses and they have an emotional growth spurt. They have a realization about themselves and they go, gee, you know, wow, I'm so glad you made me aware of this. I'm really sorry. You know, and that's a saying we had in Rivendell when I was 15. Yes, I used to get put in a lot of behavioral institutions and foster homes and stuff like that as a misfit kid, a traumatized kid. And we had to practice going around in Rivendell. That was part of our curriculum. We had to have 15, they called them verbal cues per day. We had to walk up to another person there and say, I need to make you aware of your behavior. And they had to look us in the eye and tell us thanks, and they had to respond correctly. And we had to do vice versa. when someone approached us about our behavior and make us aware, we had to look them in the eye and say, thank you for making me aware of that. And you know, that stuck with me all of my life. It was really hard. It made us nervous. It made us uncomfortable. But it taught us assertiveness. That lesson was so valuable growing up in a dysfunctional ass family like I did. Then out in the streets, a lot of people slip through the fucking cracks. They don't get a therapist. They don't get put in institutions. And they're raising, I know grown-ass people to this day that are raising hell. I don't want therapy. I don't want to be locked up. I don't want to go talk to anybody. Oh, I heard it. I heard it for years. Let me tell you something. You're lucky if you get to go to a therapist. That's a fucking privilege, man. That's a blessing. Or if you get to go to a rehab or a behavioral place where they can give you some behavioral mods after you didn't get that shit in childhood. Now you're walking around 40, 50 fucking years old, not knowing your ass from a hole in the ground. You don't even know who you are. You don't know how to act. You have no emotional intelligence. You don't know what a boundary is. You have no self-respect. You don't know how to respect others. Give me a break. It's a privilege, and I'm so thankful to God that they kept locking me up, that the state kept coming after me. I was in state custody a lot back then. Whoever, my mom and them would file petitions to have me picked up. I'd get put in these institutions, and I got court appointed to a therapist, and I thank God for her. I thank God for any grain of help. Even though I was a combative child, those seeds stuck with me, and I wanted to keep growing on my own as I got older, so I always went back to therapy. I checked in with her when I needed to, and by God, I needed her. There were so many things that I was doing wrong. I was hurting others. I was manipulating others. I had a lot going on, and there were things I was allowing people to do to me. There was so much growing up in dysfunction and abuse that I didn't get taught. Just saying. So, for those people out there knocking the positive of the world, yeah, I get it. Some shit is corny, whatever. And I damn sure don't like toxic positivity, where somebody just, no matter what, no matter how tragic, how real it is, how serious it is, they just wash over it with, oh well, it'll be okay, namaste. Don't fucking put your toxic positivity on me. Because when the shit gets real, it's finna get real. And I'm gonna deal with that. I don't like toxic positivity, where people want to whitewash, you know, a lot of really extremely dark, toxic, eaten up people to do that toxic positivity shit. You're not being nice. You're being mean. Anytime you confront them, hold them accountable, you have a boundary, they pull that toxic positivity shit. Yep. You're not very nice. You should just be nice to people. Yeah, right, bitch. Let me just lay down here like your fucking doormat. Yeah, let me just give you a smile and thank you so much for fucking me over. Okay, I don't fucking think so. You better get you some medicine and think again. I don't do toxic positivity. When shit's getting real and it needs to be addressed, get it on the table. Be aligned with your proper emotions. If you're angry, be angry. If you're sad, be sad. Line yourself up, put that shit out there, address it with the people you need to address it with. All those head games and avoidance games, and people, their emotions don't line up with their words. They have no integrity. Their parents have taught them in childhood, abusive and neglectful childhoods, not to have feelings, that they don't matter, that they should never speak up. Oh, Lord. Anyway, I am grateful for the positive people in this world who are just real, who are authentic. And you know what? Sometimes positive isn't nice. Sometimes positive, the best thing for you, the kindest, most compassionate things for you, sometimes come in a real hardcore package. Sometimes it doesn't sound like you think it's gonna sound. That's right. Sometimes positive is the exact opposite of what you think. It might sound negative to a real fragile, toxic, broken person who doesn't want to grow. An assertive person scares them to death. Yeah. They think you are mean. They really do. But I like Dhar Mann, and I love it Because even if that's not reality, and we know it's not reality, nothing is that ideal. Nothing is going to work out that perfectly. People don't just come to their senses. Boy, I wish it was that easy when we had a conflict or we confronted people about some behavior. I wish it was that easy where people took accountability, oh my God, and said, hey, I realize I've done this. And they see the caring, the privilege in someone taking time to make them aware. That's the point. A lot of people that get wadded up and they think you're mean for making them aware of themselves, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, I don't give a shit about going around the world making everybody aware. That's their business. But if you're in my fucking energy field and you're tied to me somehow and I care about you, I'm going to make you aware of your behavior. If it's off the deep end, if it's stepping on me, if it's going to hurt you, that's what you're supposed to do. And I love his videos because they make people aware of things. And yes, the people come to their senses and they're like, God, thank you, man. And if you're on a certain level of emotional maturity and intelligence and you're working on healing yourself, you will thank that other person for making you aware. That's exactly what you'll do. Just like they taught me in Rivendell all those years ago as a kid. Thank you for making me aware of that. If someone steps to me in a genuine, wholehearted way and they have any concerns or anything they need to speak to me about, I am very open to that. And I will thank them for making me aware. That's an honor. Thank you for caring about me that much. And I know the difference too. I know the difference between a toxic, narcissistic, gaslighting, deflecting, blame shifting, manipulative abuser who is trying to put all of their nasty characteristics onto me, and a person who is actually confronting me for my own well-being and out of absolute love and respect for me. I know the difference. I can see it in your body language. I can hear it in your tone. I know what words. I can tell. Believe me. I was traumatized by living with somebody who never seemed to have any problem with me at all until I would confront him. Then all of a sudden, when I had a conflict problem with him that I needed to bring up and address and hold him accountable for, all of a sudden, he had things to confront me about all of a sudden. No, sir, this isn't about me right now.